Texans return to practice. Tank Dell does as well as some other guys. They also got some interesting absences. It is S&L, Landry Locker, Cody, Stoots. We do this every morning. Tomorrow we'll do it at 4. We'll react to the final injury report heading into the game against Buffalo. Also hear from Stefon Diggs and CJ Stroud. But biggest takeaways from practice yesterday and what we saw and what we heard.
Shocked that Joe Mixon wasn't there, and shocked, I feel like, is an appropriate response to Mixon not being at practice after he practiced last Friday and had the questionable designation heading into the game. The thought process when you found out he wasn't going to play against the Jacksonville Jaguars was, okay, he just needs a little bit more time and he'll be ready for the Buffalo Bills. And then to not even be present at practice in the open portion, that was a little shocking to me that Mixon wasn't going. Now, of course, if he practices Thursday, Friday, he's good to go for Sunday when the Bills are in town. But that's the first guy I'm looking for when we go to practice today is 28 out there. Because if he's not out there, then there's a real chance that it's Cam Akers and company yet again for the running back room.
Well, Dameon Pierce was out there. He's following around. He's not completely out. He's engaged. He's not practicing, but he's watching. It appears that he's at the very least close. Laremy Tunsil also not on the practice field. So the concern level for me for Mixon and Tunsil is really low right now, to be honest with you. I think we're getting in the routine of guys getting Wednesdays off. It's not that uncommon around the league for guys to get some Wednesdays off. I think we're getting there with Laremy Tunsil, and we saw him get hurt. And then I think with Mixon, look, if you need to rest Mixon as much as possible, that's fine. Friday was a little bit different for me because you're trying to really push it. It's your last opportunity to push it and see what's going on. Yeah. Now I think you kind of take your foot off the gas, and then we see what goes down with Mixon. But I did not see Mixon on Wednesday and have as much concern as you did, because I think there's a big difference between the Thursday and Friday practices than the Wednesday practice.
Certainly. I certainly understand that level of it. It's been 16 days since he got hurt as of yesterday. So it'll be 17 today if he doesn't practice. He missed about 3 weeks in training camp, it felt like. So, it'll be 3 weeks to the day when the Bills are in town. So, I mean, he's got to practice at some point before they play him. I mean, of all the players you would be comfortable with if you're the Texans playing without practice, I'm assuming Mixon's pretty high up there. But even just a Friday practice before Sunday's game. So, I hope we see him today. I hope we see him out there today, and we don't have to worry about it. But if he's not out there today, then I'm gonna start worrying about him missing the game.
Let's go to the toy section of Target or Walmart. And one of my favorite things about the toy section back in the day of Target or Walmart is the board games. And my favorite, the board game references live on with me when it comes to checkers and chess. I always like to talk about checkers and chess. I think there's chess moves that are, more than a move away. And I think there's checkers, which is just one move. I think if you're looking at Joe Mixon and you're looking at where the Texans were last week with Jacksonville and then Buffalo, I think if you want him to immediately play, then if he goes out there against Jacksonville and let's say he's not good to go, then you're going to miss him against Buffalo. You probably think you can beat Jacksonville without Joe Mixon, which you ended up doing, which you were close to not doing, but you ended up doing. But against Buffalo, the week after that, you got the Patriots, and that's a game that you're going to expect to win. I know it's a road game, but that's a dog-butted football team. So I do wonder if there's an element there. I know D'Amico Ryans would never admit it. I know Nick Caserio would never admit it. I know Joe Mixon would never, ever admit it. But, I mean, if you're looking at Buffalo, and I thought there was a really good quote from Stefon Diggs yesterday where, he's kind of trying to play the hard-o, just another game, but he also says this is damn near 2 games against Buffalo in the standings, which I agree on. I do wonder if you're trying to push Mixon, do you want to push him against Jacksonville, or would you rather push him against Buffalo where you got New England after that? So I do wonder if there's a little element to that when it comes to Mixon. I'm not concerned. I'm not concerned about Tunsil either. I'm really –
if there's some leftover for Mixon, you're comfortable with there being leftover for New England versus leftover post-Jacksonville for Buffalo. I understand that.
Correct. Yeah, that would be how I look at it. So I'm not really panicking about Mixon. And quite frankly, the other thing about Mixon is if it's not 100% or if it's not close, I feel like we've gotten enough of a sample size, and I know it's not massive, to where you're so dependent on this guy. Like, you've got to have this guy fresh. You've got to have him ready to go. So I'm not as concerned about Mixon and Tunsil. We did, though, get the return of Tank Dell to the practice field. I know Conkle of Fox 26 said that he expects Tank Dell to play. Tank Dell, CJ Stroud had an interesting comment about Tank Dell, and we were both there. This was what CJ Stroud had to say about Tank Dell and the type of presence that he brings to this squad. Here is
just him being himself, our team owning our identity, and really just playing what we see. So, I think last year is last year. Even though I think he did really great last year. I know he wants to move on from that and do well this year, and he's very motivated. We're motivated to get him rolling too. So, it's part of my job to get him the ball and to make sure that he gets his fair amount of targets, just like everybody else. So, but no, that's definitely a key component to this game is getting Tank Dell going, because I think he's one of the best receivers in the league.
So there you go. He thinks he's one of the best receivers in the league.
And what I asked CJ was, is there something that you need to do to get Tank Dell going, to get him back to last year's version? And I feel like a lot of the offense is like, hey, last year. Let's get into this year. Okay, well, this year hadn't been good. How do you get him going? And he said, hey, I got to get him the target. Yeah, we got to execute on offense to get him the ball. All right, got to get Tank Dell going. I mean, he's a key piece of this offense. He was supposed to be one of the explosive parts of this offense. Hasn't been explosive yet. So I don't know if that's call a certain play or have him be a certain read in a play, but Tank Dell's got to get more involved.
I mean, he's coming back from an injury as well. So, yeah, I think that Tank Dell, like, if you ask me, like, how did the Texans become elite? And we're laying out, like, the realistic path to the Texans being elite. I think it's an elite offense, and it's a defense that gets after the quarterback, especially when they're full strength. And I think that's where they're going to be elite. And with the elite offense, they clearly need Mixon, and they clearly need Tank Dell to provide something. They need a third wide receiver to provide something. And that was supposed to be like one of the superpowers of this football team, like that was supposed to be, you've seen all the graphics, top 5 receiving cores in the NFL, the top 3, the 3-headed monster, everyone's going to eat. We heard Joe Mixon say that. That's what they need. They need to have Tank Dell ready to go.
Well, the beauty of the wide receivers too was, on any given week, whoever the third guy is still way better than what anybody else has as a third guy. It's like if it's a Nico week and a Tank week, Stefon Diggs is still way better than most third wide receivers. Like, they were supposed to be interchangeable, and there hasn't been an interchangeable aspect of it. One, because Nico's been so good through 4 games, and then Tank was hurt last game. So there hasn't been sort of an interchangeable aspect. It's been Nico Collins and then Stefon Diggs, and then Tank Dell's been down here. So there hasn't been like a everybody eats. It's been Nico eats, and then Stefon eats, and then everybody else eats.
Yes. And the thing for this Texans team is, I don't think they need to like force, like if Nico continues to be great, that's fine, but there's got to be like some sort of threat. Like, there's got to be like you got to maximize the opportunities that you give Tank Dell, and he's really just been kind of the distant third. And we'll see how it goes. We'll see what it looks like. We'll see what they do with Tank Dell. I think this Buffalo game, and I asked Stefon Diggs this. I tried to lay out like everything just so he couldn't tell me that it was just another game. So I tried to say, you've been in this situation. You know what this is like. And then I talked about tears. I eventually got it out. It was
funny. The folks will see.
Yeah, it was a little bit of a long-winded question, but I think the answer was a lead. Here's your boy trying to get out the question about the magnitude of this game against Buffalo from a mental perspective and from a literal perspective. And I like what Diggs did say.
Well, you were kind of in a similar situation where you're trying to go up to the upper tier, trying to take that next step, kind of what they're trying to do here. Is there any like extra added, I don't know, magnitude facing a team that's in that tier when you're trying to get up there, even regardless of how early it is in the season?
Say this one more time.
So beating a team like Buffalo that you're trying to get on that tier with, and you've been in that situation in Buffalo, is there any added importance of a game like this?
No, I mean, I feel like the main thing is you gotta understand that they're in the AFC. You know what I'm saying? Standing is obviously something real. You obviously got division games, and you got people in the AFC that you gotta see along the line. I feel like this schedule, we damn near let me play everybody. So damn near counts as two when you play teams like this, especially when they're a good team, obviously. But trying to reach a goal or trying to get somewhere, you gotta take it 1 week at a time. You want to go 1-0, no matter who the opponent is, and I feel like that's the main thing. Obviously, coming out here with a win is what everybody wants. So no matter, I don't think that'll jump you into a tier. You won't get a no tier until you get in the playoffs and furthermore. But going 1-0 is going to be imperative.
And I think that's really important. I think that's the way that this Buffalo game needs to be looked at. And the reason is, and I think he said it best, it's damn near 2 games.
Yep.
Because that's how you look at a division game, is it's damn near 2 games. We are sitting here, and I think most of us in this chat, shout out to all the people for being here with us, S&L, Monday through Friday, locker room 10:30 p.m., and we got you throughout the day with the videos. If you want to see the whole Stefon Diggs media availability, I got it on my channel. Cody Stoots has it on his channel. So go check that out. It's really the only place you will see it, because it's not the Texans don't put it up on their thing and they don't send them to the podium. So just another resource for you. Like right now, we all acknowledge, I think you agree that the division should just be, I don't want to call it cruise control, but you should be in pretty good control of this division, right? Like if you wanted to bet on the Texans to win the AFC South, I think at BetUS it's like minus 400. Like it's not good odds.
You hopefully are in a spot as an organization, as a team, that you're not worrying about the division again this season.
Right. So
you hopefully succeed to that level that you don't worry about the division again.
So you're kind of looking at it as lightweight, for lack of a better term. You're kind of looking at it as lightweight, right?
Yes.
So if that's your mindset, then what's the next goal? Like when it comes to winning games, because usually it's like we're 2-0 in our division. This is 2. Your next goal should be playoff positioning, because based on the fact that you think you're going to win your division, you think you're going to be in the playoffs, right?
Yes.
So Buffalo is going to be one of those teams, you think, right? The other teams that you're competing with, it's kind of up in the air. It's kind of it's Baltimore, you think is going to be there.
I think what you're getting at here is you play the likely division winners. You play Kansas City, you play Baltimore, and you play Buffalo. Those are the 3 likely division winners.
And if you don't have a better record than them, you go to their place.
Correct.
Which Buffalo is not a place you want to be in January. No. Like it's not a place you want to be in December. I don't know when you want to be in Buffalo. I'm not going to crap on Buffalo. I think it's a great place.
Probably July.
I think they got great fans. I think they got great media. I think they got a great football team. But it's the last place I would almost rather be in hell than Buffalo in December and January. I'm dead serious. I don't like cold weather like that. It's hell. Like it's hell. So if you're trying to get to the next point, you got to win this game, or else it's basically 2, because you have the head-to-head and you have that you go down in the standings. The other thing about it is we've seen it throughout history where having to go on the road has been what's prevented an elite quarterback even further along than CJ Stroud. But I think with the way the league is, it's such, I don't want to call it a dumpster fire. It's just kind of a crapshoot with everything that's going on, where going on the road's kind of what ended your season. Like if Peyton Manning would have been able to host Tom Brady a few more times in the Dome, then who knows what happens. If Brett Favre would have had to force people to come to Lambeau Field, who knows what happens. It's kind of one of those things where you've got to do that. And that's why I think this game is so huge for the Texans. And I also think from a mental perspective, I don't care what they say, if we can talk about this team next week and say, okay, they've played bad and they beat some bad teams, but now they beat a really, really good Buffalo team.
The Buffalo Bills.
You see what that looks like.
Yeah.
Oh, and by the way, you got the Patriots, so you can stackpile even more wins. You're looking at 5-1. I mean, that's over 33% of the season. You're looking like you're staring 5-1 in the eyes if you win this game. NFL, anything can happen. That's doing something. And oh, by the way, Buffalo, that beat up Buffalo team has to go to New York and play on that field against the Jets, which is not an ideal place to play. So I think this is a massive game. I think this is a huge, huge game. And it's not just about tiers. I think Stefon Diggs laid it out there. It's about the standings too, and where they are and the fact that they're in front of you.
It's rare that you can get a game that matters so much in the first week of October, but then also has ramifications for January, where you want to go and how you play in the playoffs. The game they play next week against the Patriots, it has so much less implication than what this one against Buffalo does, because it's a good team. It's a measuring stick. You look around the AFC and you're like, okay, are we on these guys' level? And then it's the playoff seeding, like you've talked about as well. And as you mentioned, Baltimore and Kansas City and Buffalo, and you know that all those places are not only outside, but they're on the road. CJ Stroud plays better at home. He averages nearly 80 yards more per game at home than he does on the road. Now, some of it's skewed because some of those road games came early in his career. I mean, the bad game in Baltimore to start the career, bad statistically. And as he plays more, it'll even out just a tiny bit more. But you much rather have CJ Stroud at NRG Stadium, and if you lose to Buffalo, all of a sudden you got to be one win better than them to make sure that they come to your place when things are getting hot and heavy in the playoffs.
Yeah, and they got a crappy division too. Like we talk about how crappy the Texans, the AFC South is looking right now. Look over there. I mean, their only potential resistance, it appears, is going to be the Jets looking competent.
Right?
And that's kind of where you're at with that. So I think it's a really, really massive game against the Bills. I don't think it's anything that you minimize. I think it's going to be huge.
They would never publicly say this. Okay. And it probably would get out maybe after the fact to a small degree. There has to be some sort of feeling in that locker room of, all right, screw these guys. Let's go get this one for Stefon Diggs. Let's go win this for Stefon Diggs.
Sure.
Let's stick it to the Bills. Josh Allen's going to talk all that crap about our guy. Let's go out there and really show them what they're missing. And let's get Stefon Diggs the ball, and let's win, and let's beat these guys' asses. There's got to be some of that to this game.
Stefon Diggs is saying that. Like, let's be serious. Like Stefon Diggs feels that way. He's a human, man. Like he's a human being. And I thought did you notice, like, in that media scrum, I thought it was kind of interesting that I couldn't really hear, but it seemed like Aaron asked him like about the differences, and he was basically like, oh, it's nothing like Minnesota. And then DJ and them asked, and he was like talking about how it was kind of like the same. Was that kind of weird how he kind of like he worked his way up to being more and more sentimental about the Buffalo matchup?
Well, the Buffalo News reporter asked him, like, what does it mean that people still wear Diggs jerseys to the game?
Yeah, he said, I would like to sign them all if I could.
Yeah. And then he was like, oh, I still love those fans and stuff like that. And I do wonder, as he started to talk about it a little bit more, it was easier for it to kind of bubble up to where, yeah, like it, and I think too, like he can disguise. Like your question's a good one because he can disguise how much this game means because it's an AFC opponent. It's a playoff contender. It's a seeding. Like, yeah, you could say that. You want to beat their ass. It's fine. Say it. Like people would say whatever they want to say if you don't win. But like he wants to beat them. He wants to shove it down their throats.
The other thing is it's with Stefon Diggs is it's kind of interesting just how he's kind of fitting in with Nico. Like in camp, I thought Diggs was the best receiver. Is that fair to say? Like,
yes.
I mean, yeah.
The two best players in camp were Stefon Diggs and Derek Stingley.
I would say Hunter was up there too.
Hunter was going against Fisher most of the time.
I would say he looked good, yes, regardless of the why. But it does seem like almost CJ was like working with Diggs to get him acclimated and ready to go. And now it's just kind of Nico's world. From like a personal standpoint with Stefon Diggs, God, you know what he's going to appreciate more than anything?
What?
Dude, winter. I mean, oh my God. Can you imagine? Because that's like when you go up like and live in like the north or something like that. And if it's the summer, you're like, holy crap, man, it is 85 degrees and we are at the lake. Oh my God. Normally it's like 100. on a 105, 110. And I love hot weather. Man, he's had to go through Minnesota and Buffalo winters. He is gonna be in heaven for this.
He's probably pissed that it's still hot, but in 6 weeks he's going to be like, well, this is great.
Yeah, he's going to love it. I think this offense has potential to still be elite. I do want to ask, I woke up this morning and this is just kind of how I party. I woke up this morning, maybe I waked and baked. That's my own personal business. But
everybody needs some greens in the morning.
Hey,
you take them a different way.
I said maybe. But I thought about the question that I want to ask Bobby Slowick. And yesterday I talked about what I wanted to ask Diggs. There's a question I want to ask Bobby Slowick, and I don't know how he's going to answer it. And he's going to speak today. And I'm not as critical of Bobby Slowick as some people are. But here's the question I want to know. Because CJ Stroud said it yesterday. And I've heard Bobby kind of say versions of this where they insist that, man, if you watch the tape, and that's what they always say whenever it's like some sort of like deep meaning. If you watch the tape, we're so close on the offensive line and we're so close in the run game. It might not look like it. It might be a 1-yard game, but we're so close. This is what I want to know. What do you specifically have to do to not be close? Not like we're close. What specifically needs to be done to where from week 1 to now, we're not talking about close? That's what I want to know from Bobby Slowick. Like, what is it? Is it blocking? Is it running backs like making the right cuts? Like, specifically tell me, and y'all, because y'all are the ones that get to consume the information, specifically tell me what you have to do to actually be there instead of being close. I think that I'd love to hear his answer. And I think Bobby Slowick's the type that will probably give you some pretty good information on that and give us some hindsight.
I really believe he's going to slip in the execution comment, but I do think the way you're asking it, you could get some good detail from him where it's, hey, like we've got to execute with the vision of the running back and we got to block better and this and that. I think there's because CJ Stroud promised yesterday at the podium, basically, he's like, we are really, 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 really.
Yes. Close. And Bobby said it. Bobby even said that they were leaving some meat on the bone with Mixon after week 1. So they always say this. So I just want to know what up, man. Like, what do we need to do here?
Yeah. Yeah. How walk me through how do you go from close to where you want to be?
Because I think sometimes that when people say you're close and it's like real vague, it's almost like you're just saying you're basically trying to say they're not playing as bad as you think they are. You know, you might see what's going on with the O-line, but there's deeper stuff to it. They might not be playing as deep or as bad as you think they are. That's kind of what happens. I want to specifically know, sir, like what do they need to do, my friend? Please tell me, Bobby, because we'll see. I'm not down on Slowick.
What if he just says, well, we're just gonna get Joe Mixon back? Like, okay.
Well, yeah, I agree. I think that's good. Yeah. Oh, so Joe Mixon's close is what you're saying. Okay, thanks. Maybe that's what CJ meant. Yeah, Joe. Yeah, he's going to be practice tomorrow. That's what he meant. Maybe that's what's going on.
When you ask the question, is Bobby going to say this one more time?
It depends how I get it out. You know, sometimes it gets out a little bit smoother than ever. So we'll see how that goes. People asking what voice that is. It's just the dopey voice, the dopey dum voice. Maybe
dopey
a failed attempt, but yeah, dopey dum voice.
I know a lot of dopey dum-dums.
It's the D-cubed voice. If y'all don't know, it's the dopey dum-dum. It wasn't supposed to be an impression. It's just basically the blowhard type of vibe.
I can't do a Bobby impression. All my hats fit.
So I think with the offense, we've come to the agreement that you get Joe Mixon back, you get Tank Dell back, you have a chance to be really, really good.
I agree. I do want to ask you though, does that include this offensive line?
No.
Playing better, but it's obviously not going to be to the level we thought it could be. That's gone.
I never thought it could be.
How much better does this offensive line need to play for this offense to be a lot better?
I think Joe Mixon.
You're more critical of the offensive line.
Yeah, I think Joe Mixon just makes it better, and CJ Stroud makes it better. I think that's it.
Okay.
I mean, yeah, but I don't think that's unrealistic. I think
You're out on the offensive line.
No, I mean, they are what I thought they were.
Okay.
I won't bang the table like Dennis Green, rest in peace, but they are what I thought they were. They can be they can be okay on certain weeks. That's what I think, and I think you can. I don't think they're like so bad that you can't overcome it. I think you can overcome it at times, and I do think the running back, and I think CJ can make it right, but I think they're dependent on players.
When they find out who they exactly are, it's not necessarily a detriment, but they're not going to be a positive.
Yeah, like
they're going to be a neutral force for this team.
Yeah, I don't think it's like a system. Like there's some systems where like Christian McCaffrey can miss time for the 49ers and they're still able to run the ball somewhat effectively in games.
Yeah.
I don't think the Texans are that. I don't whether it's the running back, whether it's the O-line, I don't think the Texans are that. I think when it comes to running the football and doing what they want to do, I think that they are dependent on Joe Mixon right now. And that's not a bad guy to be dependent on. He's just started missing games. He wasn't missing games before this, but hopefully he can hold up. But that's where I am with the offensive line. But I don't think it's like so bad that you can't overcome it. Okay. So that's where I'm at with the O-line. That's where I'll say. But on defense, I'm almost more concerned about the defense because I don't know how you mask outside of just like an extreme pass rush. I don't know how you mask the potential vulnerable state of the defense with the Kincaids of the world. We got kind of a taste of the Christian Kirk situation. I don't know how you really mask that. I'm a little bit worried about James Cook on screens. I'm a little bit concerned about that. They need another corner. I don't know if and when Akuta's going to come back, but they need another corner pretty badly to be able to mask that stuff. I think Jalen Petry's hanging in there. I actually give him props. Like he's battling as best he can, but it's just not the strength of his game.
Right. And I don't know that the stats come anywhere close to explaining. Like I know the passer ratings, only 86 when people throw at Petry, but there've been some real big completions and some explosive plays on Petry in coverage. And that was against, Kirk's nice. He's a nice player, but now it's going to be Kincaid. It's going to be Knox. Khalil Shakur's a player that the Bills trust a lot. Put down there on the inside.
A lot of hype, man. Shakur gets a lot of hype.
Curtis Samuel's a guy that they put down there in the slot as well. I mean, we saw
and the backfield.
And it's like, I know we talk about Petry, but for 2 weeks now, teams find Eric Murray in coverage as well. Like the Jaguars motioned Brian Thomas into the slot to get him on Eric Murray. Justin Jefferson had Eric Murray on him in the red zone. Like teams are finding Eric Murray, and if Jimmy Ward's not back, I mean, even if Jimmy's back, Jimmy's better at coverage than Murray, but you still find that other safety on the field when you're the opposing offense and the Texans are on defense. So they've got to do something to get ready for that because Kincaid's a really talented interior pass catcher, tight end. But, as far as running him out of the slot, running him off the edge of the offensive line, like he's a tough dude to defend. And I don't think it can just fall Petry's just got to be excellent this week. Like that's not a good plan.
Yeah, that's not fair. That's not fair to ask him. That's not his game.
That's not a good plan.
It's not his game. And I think they've done a really good job. I don't want to call it duct tape. I think there's a little bit more to it than duct tape. I think there's a lot that goes into just the attempt of playing Petry the way that they've played Petry. And it's one thing to say, oh, well, he's going to be closer to the line of scrimmage. Man, like if you watch practice, he's not even with the safeties. Like it's not even a concern. Like he's with the nickel guys, like he's with King and all those guys, and then he gets a lot of work with linebackers. So like the way that they've used Petry, I think it's actually been pretty impressive, and I think it's even more impressive than maybe it looks on the surface. I think there's kind of a ceiling to that, especially once you start playing better squads that have more receivers. So
and now teams have seen it for a month too. So there's no more surprise. There's no more, what's Petry doing? you've shown it for a month. He's played basically 100% of the snaps. So now teams are going to try to find ways to exploit it.
Let's also be honest about it. Like it goes back to like how you kind of look at the division as lightweight at the moment, and you're talking about the Buffaloes of the world. Josh Allen's not going to miss the throws that Anthony Richardson and Trevor Lawrence missed.
Correct.
In which there were opportunities. Like there was, if those guys were competent, I mean, there's this whole thing, like the way that we discuss the state of the Texans in the season right now could be a lot different. So if we are trying to go up a weight class and we're going to let the AFC South play in the kiddie pool and do whatever they want to do, the level of quarterback is naturally going to get better to where some of the stuff that's been available is probably going to start getting taken advantage of, or you're just going to have to do a better job. So that's kind of the other thing about it is they've done you some favors too. They've done you some favors.
Monday, 8 a.m. Reaction Monday. We will not be talking about Mrs. Allen like we talked about Mrs. Lawrence.
No, I don't think so. And Trevor Lawrence, I don't even know if I can call him Gosh Allen. That's what I call Will Levis, Gosh Allen. I don't even know what to call Trevor Lawrence at this point. That dude's in a weird spot, man. And Doug Peterson wants so badly to throw him under the bus. All right, that's our Jaguars quota. Appreciate everyone for coming through. This is going to be this practice coming up in a couple of hours, and I'll have the report on the short on YouTube. This is going to be the interesting one. The Wednesday's just kind of like a little toe tap, like maybe you get kind of a grasp. This is going to be the interesting one. Do we see Joe Mixon? Do we see Laremy Tunsil? Do we see Dameon Pierce? What else goes on with this Texan squad? There's a lot to follow.
Derek Barnett, who didn't practice yesterday, is your key reserve on the ends.
This guy is obsessed with Derek Barnett. I don't know what it is about him. He's got like a small place in his heart for Derek Barnett. He's a big fan of Derek Barnett.
Well, he's the most important
Derek Barnett spy.
He's the most important backup on the defensive line until Autry gets back.
No, I don't disagree, but you love you some Derek Barnett. Some Derek Barnett.
I appreciate his approach to the game.
We got Heinisch back. Heinisch looks like he is about to go crush an 18-pack of natural light after every practice when he leaves.
And shoot a deer with no scope.
Yeah. Him and Cade Stover look like they're going to the same party. I will say that.
That's true.
They look like they're going to the same party. All we need is some firewood and an 18 and a natty light.
Yep.
Shout out to the country folk. I know all about that too.
Oh, yeah.
All right. For Cody Stoots, I'm Landry Locker. We got your practice report. Tomorrow, 4:00, we'll react to the final one. We'll have a grasp of what's going on with Buffalo. And we got you covered. If it's going down, your daily Texans source is right here. We're on the scene. We're here for you. Always remember, we're all in this together.
Eat good, sleep good, be good. We'll talk Texans again soon.